All right, have you ever exploded a clutch before? Because me and my best friend Brad did. Dude, do you want to do a big burnout? Yeah, man, why not? And let me tell you, I do not recommend it. Here's the pressure plate. This was not a cheap clutch. This was the Stage 3 Plus. Supposed to be good to 800 foot-pounds of torque. And we grenaded it completely. It could not hold at all. I don't know if this gave out first or if... I mean, the bolts are all still in it, so the bolts didn't break. So I'm assuming this broke and it just pushed it all out. That's probably why all these marks are here, because it was probably banging off of everything. Yeah, it was sketchy. So why we do that? You know, we're adults, but it was kind of on accident. And I say kind of. So most people know I've posted about this truck before because we've done other stuff to it. It's the twin turbo Silverado. And we dropped compression in one cylinder, started spitting a bunch of oil in it, and nothing we could do. So we were like, you know, let's just go blow it up. As you know, every adult who blows a motor up also wants to do. So as we were trying to blow it up, doing burnouts and stupid stuff, the clutch exploded during a burnout. And yeah, so you can see here's what's left of the bell housing. The bolts here snapped off. I was actually able to just thread them out because they weren't cross-threaded or anything. Broke the sensors a little bit, and you can see, actually I was able to thread this one out, but you can see these are all bent to hell. But they are all still in there and tight. And you can see here, this cylinder is all wet. I've wiped it down a little bit, but the head was real wet too. So I showed that that cylinder, so cylinder number 1 on the driver's side, was the problem cylinder, which would make sense because it was pouring smoke out the driver's side. I'm really happy to have found the problem. I hate whenever you're working on a car, something's going on, you can't actually pinpoint the exact problem. And that stresses me out. So anyway, so now we had to build a motor, and then we're like, oh crap, now we also have to do a transmission. So what are we gonna do? So let's first talk about the engine. We're doing a fully built 6.0. Here's the block here. I'm actually literally getting ready to start assembling it. Not on this episode. But new cam bearings, honed, and super clean. They actually went overboard and made sure this thing was perfect because I explained to them what we were doing to it. So from there, I was working with Brian Tolley Racing, and we got Wiseco pistons, stock bore size, and then we're using Brian Tolley Racing's H-beam rods. All of it should be good for 1,000 plus horsepower. And then we're going with the twin turbo stage 2 cam, 618 lift. That cam was in my 240 and it was rowdy. I made over 700 horsepower in that car at 12 pounds of boost, and this is legitimately the exact same setup I had in that car. So I'm really excited to see what we push in this truck. Other than that, so then you're wondering, what do we know about the transmission? We are actually going to be using a T56 in this truck, finally. We used the NB35 before because there's not a ton of manual 4-wheel drive options. Originally, when we did the manual swap in his truck, he wanted 4-wheel drive. And I agreed, it wasn't a bad idea. But now we've come a long way. We've learned a lot on how to convert them to 2-wheel drive. I have successfully done a couple, and now that we've successfully done a couple, know the ins and outs, now I'm less afraid to do it. The biggest concern was the drive shaft, because these trucks are long when you go to 2-wheel drive. So we'll be doing a custom 2-piece drive shaft in this truck, so you'll see that once we get the transmission back in. But we got a Magnum T56, short throw shifter, and then we're going to be using a Clutch Masters clutch setup, and it's going to be a twin disc. right here. So you can see here, this bad boy. This is their updated design. It's actually a little bit different than the one I had in my 240, but similar enough. This is good to 1,400 foot-pounds of torque, so we shouldn't have any issues. And nice thing about twin disc setups is the pedal's usually a little bit softer. So Brad has a kind of a messed up leg a little bit, so that'll help out as well. Other than that, so that's pretty much it. This episode, we're gonna rip the motor out, tear the heads off of it, see a little bit more of the damage, because we also did engine damage too, which is super cool. I'm just glad we actually did do engine damage during that burnout, because, you know, that was the whole point. All right, let's look at some damage. The flywheel is extremely gouged. The bolts are all still there, just bent. Look at that. Here's the pressure, the oil pressure gauge. Man, it bent that bolt. Those bolts are fine. That's crazy.